Where's you been? Somebody said to me, somebody said, man, I'm not cold for us. I know, Rich, or somewhere. Where did you see that you can't carry somebody third? See? Okay. Yeah. I remember on the gate now. Yeah. Attached gate. Oh, yeah. For sure. No, good luck. Right. I know that. How are you? Yeah, that memory thing doesn't get better with How you doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are we good?
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, it's noisy enough. Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The purpose of tonight's workshop is to discuss proposed ordinance number 833. Maybe a little discussion from my chair before we start. As evidenced, this is a passionate topic. I don't know in my time with the council or the mayorship if I've seen the room this or not. So Not sure if that's a positive thing or if that's a lynch mob for us, but I think if we clear the air and give a general understanding of what's trying to transpire here, it may limit a lot of comments, a lot of concerns, and we'll certainly give everybody a chance to speak that chooses to. We're gonna remain orderly. We're gonna remain calm. We're gonna be respectful. If we can't abide by those things, then we'll deal with those as they come. But I think a little bit of backstory here. We have a law on the books in the town of Wheatland that I guess we deemed as mayor and council is not correct. It's outdated and needed revision. And the process to do that then is to repeal this ordinance or write a new ordinance and then do away with the old. And so we tried that with Ordinance 833. I can't speak for the rest of the council, but there are some things about Ordinance 833 that obviously I'm uncomfortable with. I'm a Second Amendment supporter. I'm a gun owner. I'm a hunter. And there are some things in there that I'm not sure I agree with. I can't speak for the rest of the council, but they're going to have a chance here in a minute to also visit with you guys before we open the floor to public comment. And you can't start with a blank piece of paper with your ordinance, so you have to start somewhere. So Ordinance 833 is a work in progress, and as stated in the two previous council meetings, will probably look vastly different than it looks right now. And that's just because of the process of how you get to the end result. So technically speaking right now, what I would like from you guys is constructive criticism on what you want it to look like rather than any sort of a verbal attack on what it currently looks like. Because currently it's proposed, and if you don't like something about it, be constructive and tell us what you would like it to look like rather than tell us it's wrong, because it's not law, it's not passed, it's not final, it's a work in progress. And I think there's been some unnecessary muddying of the waters with social media and word of mouth that have been misinterpreted and twisted, and stories and fabrications and a lot of things out there that I hope we can dispel tonight, because as an end result, I believe this council to be gun friendly. I think every one of them hunts. I think every one of them owns guns, myself included, and we want to get this right. But that's going to require some input to make sure we cover all the bases of the concerns of the citizens. And so with that, I would like to give my council members the opportunity to say anything. You want to start?
Sure, I'd love to start. I have Cohen. Thank you everybody for coming here. A little background, in case you didn't know, an ordinance, it takes 3 readings, which is 90 days for that ordinance to be in effect. In that time, we can take things out, we can add things as we deem necessary. That damn thing could have had, you could ride in here on a horse naked drinking Jack Daniels. We could take that out, of course. There's things in this ordinance we don't like, and we are going to take that out of there, okay? So I'd like to put you at rest on that. Like you said, I'm a gun owner. I'm a big time gun owner. You know, there's things in here I don't like. All we really wanted to do was mirror the law that it states right now. Our old ordinance didn't do that. Basically, it said if you carried on the streets of Wheatland, you were in violation of the law, and that's not right. So we need to change that ordinance so that's not the case. So it mirrors state law. Okay, I had people reach out to me. And I'll tell you what, they were very civil. We had good discussions. They misunderstood what was going on, you know? Once I explained to them what we're trying to do, they're like, okay, I see, I get that. You know, but I don't like the fact that you can't shoot bows in town, you know, in city limits. Well, I don't either. I've been shooting bows for decades, you know? I don't like that either. So please, rest assured that we're not trying to take your guns away. By God, that's the last thing we'd ever want to do, okay? So, like he said, we'd love to hear your comments. be civil about it, because there has been a lot of people that haven't been very civil and haven't been really nice. Matter of fact, downright nasty calling up here. I just found out someone stuck their finger in the mayor's chest the other day, and I'm an old man. If that happened to me, I can't kick nobody's ass anymore. But I would have called the cops, and I would have had that person arrested for assault. That's not right. That's not right at all. We're civil. We're civil people, and we can carry a dialogue in a civil tone. And that's what I hope happens here tonight.
I can echo a few things, but I guess one thing I wanted to point out or make sure everybody understood is that when we do, I've been on the council for almost 7 years now, end of my second term. And typically what happens when we are looking at a new ordinance, we ask legal counsel if you would draft something for us so we have something to mark up. And Mr. Weaver did that for us. We asked him, we gave him that action a few months ago, and he did that for us. And he went out and did some research on what other towns have in place currently. So what is current legislation in other localities? And he provided us with a draft. I'm going to tell you, sometimes council's drafts are good and we just have minor changes here and there. Sometimes we start over. And that could be where we are right now. In fact, I think that is where we are right now. I just, for myself, I felt like the ordinances that we have in place right now, 9590 and 95100, just don't comport with current state statutes and the Second Amendment, of course. And we need to repeal and replace, and we just need to figure out what the safest thing is. What keeps us all safe? I mean, that's what one of our main jobs here is public safety. So, very grateful to have you all here. So.
Sorry.
Yeah, move the podium all the way up here.
You got about a dozen more people on you.
Oh,
Looking for room.
Make room.
Squeeze in tighter, get room.
so I guess just to summarize that or wrap it up, our attorney gave us a draft. The decision lies with the four of us. And only if there's a tie does the mayor have a vote. So if you have inputs, you need to talk to one of the four councilmen. The attorneys doesn't have a vote. He just gives us input on and we ask for his advice on whether something is statutory or not. So that's his role. And that's ours.
Guess there's probably not going to be much left for you to say. It keeps going on, keep going all the way through. Yeah, I mean, the history of how the ordinance works, I think, social media and everything. I don't do Facebook, but I've heard everything that was on there. So, again, everybody just didn't have the facts. What I think is great for tonight, I'm hoping all of you go home with all the facts, spread the word, and I think it'll be way better, and everybody won't have to take as much blood pressure medicine tonight going forward. That first ordinance, like Bill had said, Candy, our legal counsel, they give it to us, and it's easier to give us the whole pie, give us the whole thing. And then we pass the first reading, because if we all vote no on that first reading, then it's dead, and we're still at where we are today. We're all in violation. So then we start over. So when all of us voted yes on the first reading, some of that got out there, oh, they're voting yes, they're voting this, it's Doug Weaver's ordinance, it's this. No, you gotta vote yes. I think Donnie even asked me the next day, because he was like, I don't know if I should have voted yes on that. And I was like, no, you want to vote yes. We want to keep it moving. We want to go to the next stage. So in October, our pie will probably be a piece, a slice. And then maybe November, it may be just a tiny wedge of that. So we're going to keep working it out. I have an archery target, my family. got a BB gun. I killed an antelope this weekend. I mean, we're all sportsmen up here. So, but it works easier that we get it all. So when we go through this ordinance, whether it's whatever the ordinance is, we want as much information so we can do our due diligence. And that's what council says. Here it is. Here's as much I can give you. The clerk can give it to us, and then it's up to us, like Councilman Brits had said. Then we weed through it, say throw that out, throw that out. I mean, I can tell you right now, half this stuff is all red lined. It's all going away. But I'm just trying to tell everybody, just because we voted yes was a good thing during an ordinance, because you're trying to get it to the next phase and the next phase. And it could die in November on third and final reading. If we vote to kill it, we go right back to where we are today. More or less everybody in violation. Then we start, trying to do something again. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get it whittled down to where everybody's going to be happy. I mean, we can't keep everybody happy. There might be some restrictions here or there that just because you saw what Mr. Weaver got for us, rest assured that's not the way it's going to be. But he was doing his job for us because we want all that information. It makes it easier for us to weed through. And then we can get your input or stuff or information gets out there for everybody. So, that's what we wanted to say. But when we can't control what goes on social media and everybody's saying, coming to take your guns and all this stuff, yeah, you will be, it'll be all okay. It's going to be okay, and I'm glad you're all here, and go home and help pass the word what the facts are and what the process is, what we're going through. And like I said, I know I've been here last. I mean, people were beating up on Doug, beating up on Candy, getting in line to beat up on us. But it's that's the process we go through, and we want as much information and put it all at the beginning, and then we'll weed it out from there. Because I hate to be coming in November and trying to shove a whole piece of the whole pie back in. Give us these 90 days to work through it and get rid of the garbage, I guess, if you want to say. So, anyway.
Well, thanks a lot. I really don't have anything more to add. I do have some things I'd like to say. The social media, I think, is what really blew this thing up. I had 2 phone calls, and my number's been out there to try to find out what was going on. 2 people. One guy was very, very respectful. He says, "I don't like this in there. I don't like this in there." I agree with you 100%. It was very, very good conversation. Then he turned, and I'm not on that either, but I've heard all the stuff, and I've seen some of the printouts that went on. Man, we were getting beat up big time, and that isn't what we're trying to do. I went home. Well, that next day, I told Aaron or Alan that I wasn't sure that I should have voted for that because I didn't agree with it. Well, then he told me that was the process. You got to open it. You got to start somewhere. So on that count, then I guess I was right. But anyway, I took that home, and I don't know. Most of that back page is red. If you can see that. To what I'm going to add to the input to the workshop, and that's what this is, the workshop. This is what I think. And then Tony may say, well, I agree with you there, but I don't agree with that one piece there. So that's what this is a workshop. And like I said, we want to get it right. I'm a citizen just like you. I got to follow the same laws and tyranny and everything else that you think we are. We're not, okay? And I appreciate y'all being here. Thanks.
I'd like to add real quick that if you want to get a hold of any of us, I'm not giving you my phone number.
Come to paper.
But is it really?
Yes.
It's in the paper.
I have an email address on the city site. We all have emails to the city. You didn't have to say that out loud.
Probably not.
So on the city site, you can get his phone number too.
I'd like to add just one more thing too. That after that meeting in September, when we approved this first thing, before this crowd, before the social media, let's say, went crazy, but it probably wasn't even 12 hours, and I think all 5 of us had already been sending emails to Candy, okay, these are probably things we want to change, we want to get rid of. Even before we got the impact, we already knew what we were going to start doing. So before, I don't want to say uprising, but before all the, the crowd and everybody started coming and all the bad phone calls coming up here at town hall and everything else, we had read, I mean, it was 8, 9 o'clock that morning. Candy was getting emails from all 5 of us saying, go ahead, redline this for October when we go to look at it, and we'll look. And then we determined to also have a workshop, which is great too.
So is there a more sensible draft out there for review yet?
That's what we're here to do.
That's what this is for tonight, is to work on our.
And then there'll be one in October at our October meeting. Becomes, after we workshop this, I think as the mayor said, we can't make any decisions in a workshop. We're just pencil whipping it. And then that'll be on the agenda for you to come see. This is what's going to be brought to us for our second reading, the vote of the second reading. And that night, we might change something there, or we, knock on it, we vote yes, we move it to the November meeting for the third and final reading, then to make it a full-fledged ordinance. And then we got another 30 days to get input, do our due diligence, tweak it some more. So just even what we get through on this workshop here, there might even be a good chance we think of something between now and the second Monday in October.
And then I think Representative Haraldson is here, and I think he'd like to speak for a few minutes also before we open the floor.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Jeremy Haraldson. So I was actually antelope hunting when I got back to 75 voicemails and text message streams. And I was like, what happened? And I knew they were working on this, and I'm like, something went definitely wrong from the last conversation I had with them. So I was aware that it was going down, that we actually had found an ordinance. One thing that I want to just start with right there, we found an ordinance. It was actually a citizen that called up Councilman Britz and said, hey, I've got a real problem with this because this is non-constitutional and this isn't right. And so the exciting part is the fact that they are changing something that is not right, and our goal is into something that is right. And so I will say this: 833 as it is written is not what we want, and I think everyone here can agree 100% with that. After talking with Mayor Graves and also Councilman Montoya this last week, I said, you know what, I really think that the best thing we can do at this point is let them, and I'm going to use legislative terms, work the bill. They need to go through and they need to be able to do that cut and let us watch them do their job. And I think we should do that. And then we should open it up for conversation. Because that way we can actually watch them. They're your representation. You guys, how many people here actually live in town, in city limits? So you guys elected them to represent you for the town of Wheatland. And so I think that allowing them to do their job. Now, do all of them think exactly as every one of us do? Probably not. But the cool part about having a wide spectrum here is you have the ability for the strength that comes in those numbers of different personalities and perspectives. And so the beauty of the system that we do have is, just like on a state level here, on a city level or on the town level, is it isn't a situation where someone could be like, hey, I got this great idea, let's make it an ordinance this month. You can't do that. You have to walk it through that 3-month process. Why do we have that? That means you guys can go, wait a second, I got a serious question about this, let's have a conversation. They can sit there and go, hey, you know what, I really don't feel comfortable with that, let's have a conversation. And we can then mold and make an ordinance into what it's supposed to be. As it is currently, if you guys know me, I mean, right now I'm open carrying an empty holster, but I open carry, and I have ever since the beginning of COVID, because I found out people didn't ask me to put a mask on when I was open carrying. I concealed carry for years and years before that. But interestingly enough, I've been breaking the law every single day, open carrying in the town of Wheatland by current ordinance. And Tony and a lot of us have, and that we're not breaking a state statute or a state law, but we are breaking a city or a town ordinance. And so I believe that the goal of this, I know the goal of this was to fix that. Now, what 833 did was add a lot more to that than we all wanted or thought was necessary. So we can all bring recommendations, but a part of me always thinks we need to watch them work this bill for 20 minutes or so, or a half hour, and then we'll see exactly what we don't need to talk about instead of what we do. Because right now, if we gave freedom to every person in the place, I don't get to eat supper tonight, and we won't all eat supper tonight. So I don't know where you guys are at, but that's where I'm at. I believe that will we always see eye to eye with every person up here? No, I don't, but that's okay. But I also know that in an area, in a topic like this, the beginning of this and where this started was to give you guys your freedoms back, not take them away. And so if we can let them do that, I think we should. And at the end of that, I think they should then be able to read a semi-mangled draft, because that's what it'll be. But we can get an idea of what that looks like. And then at that point, we can also raise a hand. We're like, wait a second, there's still some things that we'd love to voice our opinion on. So, and that's, you don't have to listen to me. That's just my opinion. And if someone else thinks that we want to just hash this out right now with 3 minutes each, I definitely am 100% for that and would love to hear you guys' heart on that, and I know they would too. But so that would be my recommendation. But I do want to thank you guys for coming. In my entire life, I've seen a lot of people that we want freedom, but we don't want to pay for freedom. And we pay for freedom by showing up, by voicing our opinion, by making sure that the process continues to stay intact. Because if we don't, it won't happen. We've seen that in this nation. So thank you guys for showing up, and I will challenge you, and just if I could give you one piece of advice, because I was sitting in your guys' shoes 1 year ago, just over a year ago, just as a normal citizen and now being a representative. Don't hesitate. If you have any question at all, make a phone call long before you make a Facebook post, please, because there's a lot of times that I did stuff in legislation where I had people that were like, what happened? And I was able to have a really clear conversation, and they were like, oh, that makes sense. Or we can put it on Facebook and make a problem. So just, and then if it is something where you're like, hey, someone else threw that on there, just say, hey, have you called the town? Or have you called the rep? Or have you called your commissioners? And we can definitely try to head things off at the pass, because we're a politically charged nation right now, and I don't disagree with that at all. We're all sick and tired of losing freedoms, and I'm right there with you. So, anyway, thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Jeremy. What's the will of the council? Do you like the idea that Jeremy proposed? Can we trim the fat out of it, so to speak?
Let's do it, because I think, Mayor, we have a pretty good idea of what we want to do. And if we can just start on that process, I don't think it's going to take a long period of time.
I don't think it is either. Is that agreeable? Let's do that then. And so I guess, everybody have some patience with us here, and we'll give you a rough draft of what it will look like at the October 11th council meeting. And please, all come to that meeting as well, and hold us to the fire.
Mayor?
Yes.
Jeremy stated that he at times was illegal in here in this town, and I suppose there's a large percentage of this group have been illegal in this town. Concerning the carry permit, the carry-in, and what's the state statute? Do they supersede the city ordinance? Okay, what's your city ordinance compared to your state statute?
The current city ordinance?
Is that
The current city ordinance right now?
the one that you are trying to improve?
What do you want to know? What does it say?
Yes.
No person except authorized officers of federal, state, or town government shall keep or bear upon their person any pistol, revolver, knife, slingshot, bludgeon, or other lethal weapon.
So in our concern, and we want to do this, we could do away with this also?
Yeah,
That's what we're
that's
trying to do.
both of them.
doing.
Both of them.
That is an open,
Yeah, both
That's
of
what
them.
we're trying to
this is
do.
the solid ordinance right now, and you could change that
That's
under this
That's
meeting.
what we're doing now.
Is what-
I don't want to interrupt, but could I just explain? What they're doing is, in this ordinance that they passed the first time, they're amending the current two ordinances, 905, 90, and 905, 100. And when you amend those other ones go away. So if they amend whatever they decide, 95, 100, when they end it, that provision goes away. The one that Mr. Rich just
Otherwise you can't bring it back later on.
So you could do, legally saying, you can do away with what prompted this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do,
That's what we're
Steve.
trying to do.
Right now, we're all in violation. And until November, second Monday in November, if we vote to amend and replace this, this is still on the books right now.
Now, does that stay with you, or does that stay for the county, or just the city?
Just the city.
Okay, now, my concern is when I come in from the country and I go to the park and I have that with me, where do I check it in?
We're not there yet, Steve.
We're not there yet.
I mean, the old,
We're not there yet.
the old ordinance.
Yeah.
What I was referring to was what Jeremy said, that we have been illegal. And so as a suggestion, as something to think about, is that thought right there. I'm not saying that we're gonna do away with it, I'm not suggesting anything. What I'm saying is to listen to the people that are not in town
Right.
also.
Well, I think you're gonna like this. I think you're gonna be okay with this.
Yeah,
No.
I'm not making any judgment calls here. I understand what you guys are saying, that we have to fix this,
Yeah, we do.
and that we're going to.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it.
Yeah, I just want to clear up some of my,
Sure. Yeah, we could what if it to death.
exactly.
But if we can just get to work now and start cleaning this sucker up, it's all gonna be good, man. It really is.
Got some questions.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Are we gonna have any problems with state preemption laws by forbidding something the state permits?
No. No, because the state statutes, 15.1.103, gives the power to the town to establish ordinances that regulate the conduct of the people within the town, including firearms. So we're not outside the bounds of our authority. Good question.
Can you give me a little brief history of why this ordinance came into play in 1988? Who was on the council?
I cannot.
I wanted to, this ordinance, I'll give you a little history. It probably wasn't passed in 1988. It was probably sitting on the books for a long time. And when we recodified it, the numbers changed. And sometimes they don't, see, you have prior codes, 1984, and supplementations. So I am guessing this happened a long time ago, and it kept moving down the line. And the gentleman back there brought it to the attention, and that's why we're here. But it's been on for a long time. The other thing, because I know Candy got a lot of comments about it. When you go to our municipal code, and they tell you that the state statutes are a certain location, it's not the exact state statute that you see in this book, because these people don't want you to grab it free of charge, because you pay about $1,200 for these, and they have a different form that you can click. Generally, unless they miss an update, they're exactly what you would find in this book. So, and that's what our publisher and the people that we use on our website put on there, so we can click to see which statutes are the state statutes. So when you call Candy and get after it because we don't have this book from LexisNexis, it's different just because we all get to pay for these. They don't let us have them free. So
I just use it online.
right, I understand. But if you click on our ordinances, you can click.
So I'll just go to his office.
Yeah. Can we, does it make sense to just look at the possession one first and then go to discharging? Because
I think it
you
does.
can't discharge unless you're possessed.
I think it does. It makes more sense to me. I was going to suggest just that.
I mean, Mr. Race's red lines were good. The only thing that I read through that I would want to change relative to what Don put in is in section D, what the definition of a deadly weapon is. And you we said we're going to reference Wyoming law. And the one that I think is 610-104A4. It says a deadly weapon means but is not limited to a firearm, explosive or incendiary material, motorized vehicle, an animal or other device, instrument, material, or substance which in the manner it is used or is intended to be used is reasonably capable of producing death or serious bodily injury. Is that what you were after, or?
Nope. What I was after is to consolidate this, and I guess I'd like to take deadly weapons clear out of it, because what this is, it says concerning discharge and possession of firearms.
Yes.
Firearms is the key word.
Okay.
We don't need all this other stuff in there.
Okay, so there is another definition for firearms in a different.
Okay.
I have to go find it.
I got one.
Well, let's hear it, Tony.
Well, I gotta find
He's too shook up about his phone number.
He's still worried about his phone
it.
number.
I am worried about my phone number. My wife don't even have my phone number.
She might now, you just don't know it.
Oh, it was under
They can never get you for overtime, huh?
here. A firearm
Oh,
means any weapon which will or is designed to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive.
yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Firearm shall not include any fully automatic weapon or any weapon designed to fire a rocket-propelled grenade or any explosive projectile.
Yeah.
Is that the definition you like? Is that the definition you like?
Well, I guess that
That was
that
the one I
explains the
was looking at.
firearm. That takes, that takes this deadly weapon, a car and a brick and everything else out of the language. Anything could be a deadly weapon. A pencil, if you know how to sort of place it.
So you would scratch the words deadly weapon and put firearm in there.
Yes, I think that would be what I would try to do that.
And then the one I just read you was 68403A3.
Repeat that again.
Repeat that one more.
68403A3.
A3.
A3. I honestly, I kind of wondered if that one, if there might be another definition somewhere, because that one's under the regulation of firearms by the state.
Yeah.
And it only applies to firearms that are manufactured in Wyoming.
In this section right here, 3510-201 definitions, II. This one says firearms means any pistol, revolver, or derringer designed to be fired by use of a single hand.
Yeah, see, and that's
that's
too limited.
Yeah, I like the one that you had. Well, that's one I was looking for. Those are the two that I
I mean, we can use the definition from the state and reference it here, or we can take a piece of that and stick it in here. And we can also, there's a lot of things you can do here, and I'm just gonna reference back to my old job as a flight controller. We had a rule, and then the rule was in capital letters, and then below it we had rationale that was in italics that would describe what was going on behind the scenes. And there's no reason you can't do this in here. Just like, okay, here's the definition of a firearm, and we reference, you can say referencing similar to 68403, but just limited to this.
What I'm trying to do is just limit as much verbiage as we can out of this.
You can't go too far.
Well,
It becomes ambiguous.
No.
Well, no, I'm not
You
saying
can also
ambiguous.
do like this outline for state law as to carrying weapons reference the statutes.
There. Cover that. I'm all right with that.
So what did you say, Alan?
Well, I just said, for example, the ordinance that's on the books today, that last sentence, we could add something like that. When you're trying to reference, like carrying weapons, see Wyoming statutes, blah, blah, blah.
I'd say for the second one,
This year.
just say firearms are as defined in Wyoming 68403A3. For now. So for the rest of our group here, Mr. Race recommended,
You're a good reader. Do you just want to read that?
sure. So,
Back page, guys.
yeah, it starts at the very bottom, but, so, to your earlier question about our authority or the authority of the town, we left in the Wyoming statute 68401 and 151-103 that grants towns, counties, and other whatevers, governments, the authority to put in an order that prevents conduct which disturbs or jeopardizes public health, safety, peace, or morality by the wearing or concealing of concealed weapons. Ooh, I'm not sure I like that one. Okay, so might have to modify that.
I guess it's legal to wear a possess a gun on your shoulder, on your, since I was born here in 1959, it was legal to carry a freaking Colt or a 45 or anything else around your waist in the town of Wheatland. Open. Well, was all the time I was a kid. Now all of a sudden in '88, they come up with this new law. You guys have been.
I can't tell you what happened in the past. I can tell you we're here to fix it.
So, but the way to fix it is to destroy the sucker and don't even worry about it. Just freaking gone. Just go back to the way it was. That's the way you guys are trying to do it now, so we don't have any guns at all.
Or is there an option to repeal the existing law without having any additional purpose?
Well, there is. The question is, do we think that's in the interest of public health and safety? To allow anybody to carry or whatever.
Let's shoot a high power.
Yes, you just have to yell out.
So,
Or a hunting rifle. I mean, you can do that.
well, there's two different things there. You're talking about the possession of a firearm versus the discharge of the firearm.
That's what we're talking about.
So basically, you don't trust the people, city people in Wheatland who have carried armed weapons and everything else. We don't go around shooting up our schools,
I know.
shooting up anything else. But you don't sit there and trust them. But you actually know what the hell they're doing.
That's not true.
No. But according to that, you don't trust them that they can keep a firearm on their freaking
This
waist
is not.
and
wait,
not
wait,
there
wait,
and
wait, wait.
shoot yourself in the else.
I appreciate your passion.
Yeah.
However, you're getting your cart ahead of the horse.
Well,
It's a very good input, but we're trying to modify. I mean, your basic question is, why don't we just repeal it?
yeah, just
Amen.
just squash it. Just shred it. Go back to the way it was before the old amendment took over for whatever we had before.
Hey, everybody here, let's let them guys work first. Keep all your hands down, keep your comments quiet, and let them do their thing, and then we'll talk.
Thank you.
We'll get it done a lot quicker if we do
information
that.
from the public, and you guys do your work afterwards, but I thought you were trying to get information about, and you guys sit there talking amongst yourselves. We don't get to say anything. Why did we come? Why did you ask us to come?
You will get to talk. This is our process.
I'm on a time limit myself, and I would like to say a few things. One of them is the sidewalk is considered a street. If I carry a weapon down the sidewalk and I walk past the city hall out here, do I get arrested for carrying a firearm on public property or city property?
Sidewalk is owned by the property.
Sidewalks owned by the property owner.
Doug said not always.
Not always.
Yeah, it depends, yeah.
Some are 14 feet back. I mean, it just.
I think your question is a good one because it goes to the enforceability of the ordinance. Is it so cumbersome that it's not enforceable? And that's part of the reason we want to look at this because, may not be enforceable. And then if it's not enforceable, it's not workable, and it's useless, yeah. So,
Gary.
I just have one question. Can anybody tell me what the purpose of the Second Amendment is? What is the purpose of the Second Amendment?
to protect us against the current administration.
It's not only guns. What is the
Whoever
purpose
that may be.
of the Second Amendment?
Protect us, our ability to protect ourselves from the administration.
It's
The government.
It's to tell the government, our life is our life, leave it alone.
Yep.
That's what the Second Amendment says. We have the right to pursuit of happiness, etc. And we have the right to carry a gun. Those are inalienable rights. That's what the Constitution says. That's what the Second Amendment is for, is to say, stay out of our business, stay out of our life.
We're not arguing that.
Okay.
What you're doing
out there is actually true.
We're trying to change that old ordinance. No, listen to me. Stop. David, we're trying to change, well, that's what we're doing, David. We're getting rid of that old ordinance.
Then go back to the ordinance before this.
We don't know what that was. Do you know what that was? I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's on the books.
I went to school here in Wheeling. We used to have freaking kids and farmers had done freaking shotguns and rifles and stuff in the truck. They were never out of ordinance.
Well, we don't know that. We
But
didn't
yet,
know
now
we're all
all
in
of a sudden,
violation today.
You guys just scared of schools and stuff like that, being shotguns and everything else, and people shooting up. And why don't we don't do that? We never have done that. But take it down in Texas. Texas is Texas. It's not Wyoming. We have a different value in Wyoming than they do in Texas or any other state in the union. We are Wyomingites. We are different from any other state in the union.
Okay, we're gonna get back to the
We're gonna get
paragraph
back to
we're
work
working
here.
on. My hero
Okay.
back there against the wall.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, back to
Where were we?
possession. The first part of this was just establishing that the statutes of the state of Wyoming grant the authority or powers to a town to create an ordinance that regulates the possession of weapons or whatever. So that's, I think I might change that. I might suggest we change this a little bit because it talks about weapons.
Well, I would.
That's on A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't think government should be stepping in where it talks about morality. That word should be stricken altogether. I go to church and I don't do any things we might consider immoral. But that is such a loaded word.
yeah, that's straight out of
Morality
statute.
should not be in there.
That's straight out of statute.
Shouldn't be in the statute either.
So,
Jeremy.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
so one of the things Don suggested we strike was that the last part of the first sentence, and on town Wheatland property as provided herein, and just said, talks about carrying of weapons in or to meetings of the town of Wheatland, period.
Okay, so, the first one first, the town of Wheatland property as provided herein. I don't agree with that. I think you should be able to carry, in the properties, park, you know, the buildings, you know, the theater is town property. I will not go into a theater without carrying.
Well, most of us with common sense know that, Tony. I mean, let's be a little bit more respectful.
No, but I don't agree with that.
I
Not
lived
being
here in
able
this
to carry.
town as long as you have, and I've walked into Allen's office with a gun on my hip. I've walked down the streets of Wheeling with a gun on my hip. Nobody's ever said nothing.
Right.
Police officers have seen me. No one has said nothing.
What I'm saying though, it's in that old ordinance right here,
First.
and we're striking it out. So
Okay. Okay.
I don't think we needed it.
Who's this for?
And there's another thing I had a question about on C. Okay, it's unlawful for any person not being a law enforcement officer to wear, carry into, or have in their possession any deadly weapon in or any meeting of the town. So that's pretty vague to me. So would like Oktoberfest be a meeting of the town? I mean, I just think that is so vague.
Well, you gotta go on there.
And I don't think we really need that in there because the state statutes says you can't carry in schools, sports field, law enforcement offices, prisons, courtroom, government meetings, the legislative meetings, bars.
But that's concealed carry,
Get rid of that.
not open carry.
True.
All of that's under the concealed carry statute.
No, it's right there. It's under open carry.
No, that's not the statutes, Don.
Schools cannot.
Don, that's not the statute.
I just got that right out of that.
That's
It's
not
an easy
the-
read.
That's not the statutes. You read the statutes.
I'm just
It's
pulling
in
it out of there. but I'm
concealed
saying
carry.
Cannot open carry or possess firearms in schools.
In school, that's in the school statute,
That's what I'm saying.
but not in town government is under concealed carry.
Open carry during any meeting held by government.
Hey, Bill, you got your card?
Sorry?
Let him read your card.
Do I read my what?
Let him read your concealed carry card. You got it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, let him read the back there.
Well, whatever it is.
That card tells you what you can carry, what you can't. What you can do, what you can't.
The concealed carry, I'm telling you, I just read the statutes
No, I
again.
mean, he's asking you, well, on your card and telling you if you have a card.
Right in here.
Yeah.
So anyway, my original deal is I have a problem with any meeting of the town.
At any meeting in the town.
Yeah, I think that's pretty vague. I think we need to look at that.
Can I cleaner, I think what Don was trying to say, and I'll just read it. It is unlawful for any person not being a law enforcement officer to wear, carry into, or have in their possession any firearm.
There you go. Change the
Firearm in or at any meeting of the town council, workshop, and board meetings. That's what, so if you have a meeting here, you can't bring in your guns, whether concealed or on your thing. That's what Don, I think, was trying to get to. And then it ended there. And it wasn't on any other public property. It was simply, if you came to this meeting, you could not bring a gun into this meeting.
And that's what I think I was trying to get at, is that we already have it here, where we don't need to have it at any meeting of the town. We already
Could you
have it.
restate that one more time so I can get it wrote down here for my rough draft?
I'm just saying, I think I'm capturing what Don was trying to say. And it is unlawful for any person not being a law enforcement officer. So if the chief was in here and had his gun, or an officer was in here, to wear, carry into, or have in their possession any firearm, because you struck weapons,
deadly weapon.
in or at any meeting of the town council, which would include town council meetings, workshops, and board meetings. So if you had a planning and zoning meeting here in this town, or any meeting, you couldn't bring in your weapons.
So that includes councilman and mayor?
Includes everybody.
Okay.
To me, this is the section that, this is why we need this ordinance, or most likely could be. There's no open carry law in the state of Wyoming. There's no open carry law, statute, right?
Right.
There's a concealed carry statute that describes what you can do when you have a concealed carry permit.
You don't have to have a concealed carry permit.
You don't have to have concealed carry.
Let me just kind of carry out my thought process here. So, open carry, there's no restriction in the statutes of the state of Wyoming on where you can carry that weapon. Unless the town wants to limit it, you cannot bring a weapon into this meeting. The only way to do that is by ordinance. So that's Would you guys agree that?
That's a good ordinance. That's a good ordinance.
That's exactly right.
That makes sense. I mean, and
Thank you.
what law-abiding citizen would attempt to do something like that anyway?
I know.
What I'm saying.
Generally.
A high percentage, not always, not always.
Workshop, everything
High
that public
percentage.
knows.
I'm not saying.
But not always.
If you put the statute, you have to have a law.
That's right.
Because criminals don't listen to laws.
And if I'm in this meeting, somebody comes to that door and starts shooting us up. I can't protect myself, can you?
I mean, that's just, so you have to have law enforcement officer for every single meeting.
Yeah, Fred, that's what I'm saying.
Limit the ability for a firearm, and there has to be a firearm in there.
Is that a statute?
No, that's common sense. Because at that point, I mean, criminals don't listen to laws, so they see the sign, you can't bring a gun into a meeting, they don't care, they just know that no one in the meeting that's actually a law-abiding citizen has a gun.
It's now a gun-free zone.
Exactly,
Which is.
we're working on legislation.
So really, that would just be a policy of the town.
Exactly.
That would
It
not
would
be
not
an
be, it would
ordinance.
have to be a policy of the town to have a law enforcement officer in every meeting for everyone's protection.
Yes.
For the protection of the town. Anyway.
So by the way, we jumped over paragraph B, but just so the rest of the group here knows, Councilman Race struck the whole thing out, which I don't have a problem with. I mean,
No.
So he's gone?
Yeah, it's gone.
yeah, just completely take B out.
Is that on 905-100?
Yes, sir, 100. And then, so we talked about C, which would, if you have your piece of paper, Councilman Ray suggested striking out completely the last sentence. So it just ends after the word board meetings, and we change the word deadly weapon to firearm. Paragraph D is just merely a definition of firearm per Wyoming statute 68403, and everything else is crossed off, and paragraph E is completely crossed off.
Isn't that redundancy up there? All of that, I put redundancy on my copy. This one here is redundant. Law enforcement.
So if you boil it down, the only thing that we have left is that it makes it, this ordinance would prohibit carrying of an open weapon in a meeting of the council, workshop, or a board meeting. That's it. That'd be it.
Open carry or concealed.
Yeah, any weapon or any firearm.
And that actually mirrors state law as well.
Well, it mirrors the concealed carry law, which specifically prohibits concealed carry in a government meeting.
This would just add open carry to that, so that nobody carries firearms, period, into a town meeting.
Yes. Except for law enforcement.
And a law enforcement in that meeting
Going
at
forward,
all
we'll
times.
on policy.
Yeah.
Put that in, I guess. We'll make it a policy.
Well, I got a side note that we need to make it happen.
Look at me, man.
The way I understand it, just from what I'm seeing here, the city ordinance that we have now is way more restrictive than what the state is, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, in doing this, would it be better to look at the state statute, add or delete what the state says, and
That's exactly what we just did.
okay.
There's no open carry statute. There's nothing in the statutes that prevent open carry in a government meeting.
But I mean, for this whole, the whole list of everything.
It honestly, it really just, it mirrors what current state statute is right now.
Yeah, we don't need to be more restrictive than what the state says, right?
That's exactly, I think, the feel of everybody up here.
So go put that on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook.
So, just to continue the conversation, let's look at the next one, which is firearm, discharging of a firearm within the town limits. So,
Which is the beginning of the proposed ordinance you have in front of you, which is section 9590.
so now that you have a firearm, Mr. Race deleted, and I like it. Paragraph A says simply, no person shall discharge any firearm within the limits of the town of Wheatland, except. So everything about bows, crossbows, slingshot, shoots, or bullet, pellet, arrows, BBs, darts, whatever, that's all taken out. Strike. My favorite. My favorite is the model rocket, which is a projectile that's gas propulsion.
Yes, because they can get a special permit for that. They will be able to continue because they'll be able to get
It would still be legal to shoot on the gun club range.
Yes, and there's provisions in here that further
That's not in the
explain.
town of Wheatland. That's in the county.
So it seems to me all you need is what you're already doing. You're covering carrying in city meetings. The state statute covers everything else.
Correct. That's right.
So your change is really kind of simple.
Yeah, yeah. That was the
This is why
intent
we
all
slept
along.
so good for a long.
And it was blown way out of proportion.
Just to finish up with section 90, Mr. Race didn't have any other changes, so you cannot discharge a firearm unless it's in self-defense, or it's a law enforcement officer, game and fish officer, or federal officer in the discharge of their duties, pun intended, in an area zoned or permitted for that use. They cannot, let's see, you can fire it if you have a written agreement from the town for recreational or instructional purposes. Animal control officers. Let's see, if all other methods of extermination have failed or are impractical due to public, the mayor may authorize certain individuals to discharge firearms within the town limits for the controlling animals and birds.
The starling.
Yeah,
That's the starling paragraph.
yeah, and geese on the golf course.
No, that's club.
Oh, that was club. That's right. That.
What about squirrels in my nut tree? What about the abundance of squirrels in my nut tree? Those are my nuts. I'm harvesting them. I'm eating those nuts. And that squirrel is a nuisance, and I'm dead serious.
Hey, squirrels ate all of my grapes, and I'm pissed.
You actually can come right down to town hall and see Candy. She has the authority to grant you a permit that's good for 30 days where you can set off, you can shoot blanks out of a 22, or you can use a recording of gunshots to keep them driven away. I actually have done that at my house because the starlings at my house one year were so bad, it stunk with all the bird shit. I mean, and I came down to town hall and got a permit, and I just would sit out on the deck at night with my revolver and shoot 22 blanks and keep them driven away. And
Do you provide the 22 blanks? Because you sure can't find them anywhere.
Actually, what I used was Hilti material from the lumber yard. For your.
There you go.
And under this, you guys can use a BB gun or a pellet gun.
As well.
It says you can use a BB gun, the way it's written.
Can you use a BB gun or pellet gun?
As long as you align with Game and Fish's regulations.
Yep, yep.
Put that in, guys.
That works for me.
But no-
Squirrels are a game animal.
These creatures are busy.
Pigeons here in town are
So with that in mind, I would like to ask you, do you guys have a better understanding? Are there questions that we can address? And I would certainly still love to hear comments. If you guys have other feedback for us or other ideas that maybe are near and dear to you that weren't necessarily covered specifically, let's have an open table discussion because we want to get this right.
Brandon, I do have one question. Can we repeal past the state law? I mean, can we give ourselves more rights? Like, for instance, can we repeal it so that we can open carry at a meeting so that we don't have to pull a law enforcement officer off duty to come to every meeting? What about open carry and not concealed carry at town meetings?
So personally, I would not like that just because of the intimidation part of that. If I was sitting up here and we had a discussion and a heated discussion, I may change my mind or not speak my piece if I was intimidated. And I think that's where that comes in, is the intimidation of that. A public meeting is not a place to go intimidate. It's to have verbiage and
It's not about intimidation. I think it's about being able to protect yourself and defend the
okay,
people
so
around.
then what we're saying then is if we have a police officer, then we're protected.
But you're pulling resources from the city that could be out doing their duty elsewhere. So be it.
What happens if they're on a call and they can't be here?
We have more than one.
I think,
Even if it requires more than one officer, what are you gonna do? I mean, how is that gonna be possible?
the chief's here somewhere. You want to address that question, chief?
Well, it's just like me this morning. I tried to catch a dog and help the dog out because it was running down the street, didn't belong to the person it was following. So I got the dog this morning, and of course you could see it tore me up. If I would have had my pistol on me, I tried shot the son of a bitch.
Right, a
And then I'd
suggestion,
be going to jail.
as far as the open carry, why don't you gentlemen carry?
Yeah.
There you go. Brandon, I know
If
you
you
do
carry, you're not intimidated. Now you are the one that is protected. So just have a pistol when you come. Nobody else has a pistol. We don't need an officer now. You guys are armed. We're not. We get disgruntled. We're the ones gonna get pissed, not you guys. So, you know, out the door we go. We got no other recourse.
It's definitely worth considering. It's a good idea.
I think that's what they're trying to do in some of the schools, aren't they, is resource some teachers that can carry over the state law that says you can't carry in schools, but you're resourcing teachers to do that rather than using police officers.
Now the criminal is gonna be intimidated, not you.
That's, yeah, exactly right.
Criminals are bullies. That's why they do what they do.
Because it'd be a cold day in hell before I see my town shot up like these other towns.
Oh, yeah.
Guarantee you.
I think we just ought to
Pat?
deputize everybody in town.
There you go.
This is just a question on wording, but if the definition of extermination is killing, there's just a word problem between B and C. In B, there's no mention of killing an animal.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be extermination, it'd be extraction.
If all methods,
Right.
if all other methods of extraction had failed. I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Good catch, Pat. Good catch. Yes.
I'm Darrell Harris. What you guys are doing, I took an oath in 1965 to defend that Constitution and all of you, and I stand by it. What this whole meeting tonight is infringing on the Second Amendment, whether you believe it or not. And we, the people, have a right then to come against all of you. And if all this kind of stuff continues, we have a right to carry at these meetings, especially at these meetings. Because that Second Amendment, that's what it's about, is against any government entity, anything that tries to rule and regulate us. And most of the people here would stand up and defend all of you. And that's what the Second Amendment's about. And stuff. And to put anything, the last 4 words of that Second Amendment is what counts. Shall not be infringed. What you're doing, what you've done tonight is infringed on our Second Amendment. And like Gary said, we're going to stand up against this. We, the people of the United States, are sick and tired of this infringement by government.
So let me get this straight. We're infringing you, Darrell, because we're trying to change a law to allow you to carry that currently says you can't carry?
No, you're still trying to restrict at meetings and stuff because you're trying to protect yourself from.
Have you been listening to the conversation, Darrell?
Yeah, I have listened.
It was just brought up. It was just brought up and talked about, and Councilman Montoya said it's a good idea and we need to consider it.
Well, but it's still not letting you, and I agree you should carry. But you're infringing on my right of the Second Amendment, and I will stand up against that.
Do you agree, are you saying that your right to freedom of speech should not be infringed?
That's the First Amendment.
First Amendment.
I don't care that it's the same document, it's the Constitution.
It is the
an inalienable right, your freedom of speech. Can you go into a public room and yell fire? No. So there's limits to everything. For the public safety.
Under the Constitution, we have inalienable rights. You understand inalienable?
I do.
Well, you're trying to restrict them.
By that theory, there's laws on the book that say we're not supposed to shoot each other too. So by that theory, you're saying the law is going to only affect the lawful person. So I come in here with a firearm. I'm not coming in here to shoot you. I'm coming in here to protect you from the guy who is. Is what?
Yeah, I get that.
Mr. Harris is saying.
I get that. Yeah.
So I mean, the fire, yeah, that's a different issue. What we're talking here is when you write ordinances and laws, who is it directed to?
Well, that's the one good thing that I mentioned this summer about, people that have called me, which are not, it's just a small handful. Most of them are people that want to abide by the law. And it's like, oh, that's really encouraging. So that's why, personally, I'd like to get this right. I mean,
so when you tell me I can't carry a firearm, you're saying that I'm a threat.
no, I think what we're saying is that it is a threat to another individual's.
Which one?
I don't know, it could be anybody. Exactly. I mean, not everybody is as strong as you. Not everybody is as mentally,
There's the key word. When
secure as you.
When you start deteriorating that, and you have the people who are going to be against that law, that's the ones we have to be protected against.
So Jeremy, at the state, you guys, people come in, talk, can they carry a gun down on the floor or no speak?
No, the Capitol, you're not allowed to carry a gun on. Yeah. We're working on the legislation. Montana's there. We are not there yet, but hopefully soon. But no, as of right now, and honestly, I'll be honest, I'll speak my mind on this. I think it's absolutely crap. We got a 75-year-old door guard that's going to protect me, going to protect 60 of us sitting on a legislative floor. I mean, has anyone ever been to the balcony? There's no guards at the balcony. There's no metal detectors. I'm just going to tell you right now, a good guy with a gun could take out 3/4 of the state legislature in one moment. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you right now, he would not get near as far if every one of us that are Second Amendment and very active shooters could hold and carry our firearms into the Capitol. I abide by the laws of the land. Why? Because I want to. Now, I was unaware of the fact that I was not abiding by the law of Platte County or of the town of Wheatland.
Neither were we, by the way.
But the whole point is, I'll be honest with you, all that gun-free zones are is a great place for criminals to shoot people.
It's a killing field.
It is, and so I don't know, I do struggle with it. I think, if anything, I think it should be a deal where everyone carries, because then no one's intimidated because everyone's got it.
That's true.
How much more protected are you if you have a law that says you cannot murder, and then you also have a law that says you also can't carry a gun here? I mean, does that really protect you more, or does the person who's gonna murder everybody anyway is gonna carry a gun no matter what you say? And then the people that are gonna protect you can't carry guns because you've made a law against it.
Good point.
The gun can't read the law.
I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
Retired Air Force Security Forces for 22 years as a cop here in Wheatland. For a couple of years, as a DOD cop, a couple of different states. As a trainer, certified firearms instructor, but all that behind me. Why are you trying to fix a broken law instead of repealing it?
Yeah.
Just a question.
Yeah.
As opposed to just doing away with it, why are you trying to fix it that's broken?
In November.
Just a thought. I mean, put it up there, you're trying to put lipstick on a pig, but the pig is still a pig.
Unless it's giving us more.
Thank you for-
freedoms than the state. There's no reason for that.
Thank you for your attention.
You can stack laws on top of laws on top of laws, and you're gonna still have bad people. You ain't gonna avoid that with any ordinance or any law that you pass. And that's what they're saying about the Second Amendment. It protects the ones who are law-abiding and ones who stand by that. I'm not saying that I'm a delinquent, that I'm gonna come in here with the intentions of shoot somebody when I carry my firearm in here. And a law ain't gonna change that.
So, let me ask you this, Steve, and everybody else. I understand what you're saying, but I also understand what Councilman Ray said, that, okay, so we're having a discussion, we usually have the podium up there, and if somebody is pretty adamant, and he's carrying open carry, and he's pretty adamant about what he's talking about, and Willie he opposes everything that guy's saying, but maybe Willie's not going to be as forthright to speak out against this guy, because this guy might look a little crazy, a little scary, right? So what if you come in this chambers and it's concealed, or it's not an intimidating factor? Is that a possibility?
Exactly, that's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
We don't want to infringe, we want to go around it. Don't pass laws against law-abiding people.
No.
That's
I don't have a problem with
I mean, I can tackle him, Tony, but he can still shoot one of you without a gun. I can tackle him.
And I understand exactly what Don's saying.
Yeah.
There's an intimidation factor, but there's an intimidation factor when you're sitting up higher than I am.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, I know, I hate that.
You're not gonna have that anywhere else. But when you start passing laws, it's only for the law of the people.
Yeah.
Sure.
Clyde back here, he's big enough, he don't need a gun. That's intimidation too.
Yeah.
So you're still not gonna speak your mind, because you have to leave this building after he's sitting out there waiting for you. Okay, so there's intimidation. You're gonna have to face intimidation. You're in that seat of intimidation. This crowd is intimidating.
Put your hand in the air and said, please intimidate me. I mean, but you guys, I would carry if I was you. I would carry in here. I'd absolutely. Because arguments can elevate, emotions, it can get out of hand quickly.
Oh, sure.
So you want one person to have a firearm in here?
And who's to say?
And I'm not saying let's go back to the Old West and shoot them up. No, we're not talking that way. What we're talking about is reasonable people. Ones that law abiding.
What you gotta know is one of you guys is carrying, and out here, we ain't gonna get rowdy.
An armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, Willie.
Willie Allison, I just want to commend the council for striking all that you did tonight in front of us. I know this is only second reading. We still have another one. Correct?
Second reading.
So with these ideas,
Two more readings.
so 2 more readings. So with these ideas that are coming out, maybe give it a month to think about,
Oh, absolutely.
bring it back, and strike some more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I made the statement. I mean, please, everybody come to the October meeting.
But I commend you guys.
Thanks.
You might want to have it the 4-H hall be bigger.
Yes.
So, sorry, I want to address the striking on this. Okay. On 9590, I think that, because there is a point where the government's job is to protect others from someone who's not being intelligent. Let's face it, that is the part of the government's job. So I shoot a 7mm mag. That's what I shoot. It's my hunting rifle. And I used to live on West Basin Street. I had 50 yards in my backyard. Do you think it'd be a good idea for me to shoot my 7mm in my backyard?
Well, no, but that's common sense.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Common sense.
it's, I have no backstop. I'm just going to put up my piece of cardboard and shoot my 7. Of course not. And that's a common sense thing. Well, let's face it, there's no common sense.
On a gun.
So I think the 9590 can't be struck completely because we don't want people to be like, well, I like shooting my 45 in my backyard and I use my neighbor's fence as my backdrop. Obviously, that could turn really bad. We got a dead kid in the next door. So we need to be intelligent. Now, on the 95100, I feel that could be struck, but I believe what they've done to the 9590 is phenomenal, guys. Phenomenal.
Good
in
start.
the fact that you're just saying, hey, you can't discharge a firearm unless it's in self-defense or it's with a permit to take care of your squirrels.
I don't think anybody in here has a disagreement with that. The disagreement lies in when you start infringing on rights, you start splitting hairs. And right now, the social media was announced earlier. Everybody's nerves are kind of on the raw right now because there's some infringement going on in other places. Not talking about Wheatland, but the other places. So you get a little abused when you go anywhere or listen to anybody talk on media. And so the nerves are hanging out there. And I understand that. Common sense is not a legislative thing anymore. So it's like what Jeremy's saying is reasonable. What you guys did with that is perfect. I mean, no discharge of a firearm within city limits unless. Yeah, so I think that's a great.
Or unless you've been notified that you can do that because all other recourses are no longer viable.
Correct.
And the nuisance still exists, and the only way to stop it is with a firearm. Well, yeah, I'll come say, hey, I got a problem. You know, why don't you just let me have a day with my 22 in my nut trees and I'll solve the problem. Done. All you shorts, they don't go very far. You know, I mean, but all other recourses gotta be exhausted first. That's just common sense. Yeah.
I think we'll take all that.
Yes, Mike.
Okay, I think we'll all agree here that the changes that council is proposing to make are definitely an improvement
Yes.
on what we already have.
They're in the right direction, guys.
All right, let's give them a chance to make those improvements, present their bill at the next meeting with the improvements in, and then if we think it needs further tweaking, we can do it then.
Absolutely.
Well, and if there's the same amount of passion about it, we'll hold another workshop as well. I mean, we won't. I mean, if there's a need for it, we can certainly hold another workshop between the October and November meeting. I mean,
Absolutely.
if we need to, we will. If the consensus is we're good, we won't. But I mean, if we need to, we absolutely can do that. I mean, we value your
I
input.
think you guys have made great strides right now.
How about when you guys get the next draft put out, then notify through the paper or on the radio that there is a copy of that draft at City Hall front desk. Anybody who wants to come in and read it, get one. Okay, now we're informed. Now Facebook has no bearing whatsoever because we have the facts. We didn't have the facts.
We use ordinance,
We talked that.
And Brenda, you know the issue that we got in our little neighborhood.
Yes.
So, and I've told you, if your wife ever needs me, I'd be there to protect her, 'cause I'd be there before your cops get there, I guarantee you.
So I think it's been great. We've made, well, I knew we were gonna make this headway already 12 hours after September's meeting, but when people would come to my office or see me on the street, I pretty much just told them I think it's gonna be whittled all the way down. It's gonna be that last piece of pie, which the biggest thing to talk about is what we've been discussing for about 20 minutes. If you can have a firearm during this meeting, or maybe walking up to the window because you got the $10 late fee, but you come up with your pistol on your hip and you're grumbling at the gals or anybody out here in front. I said, I think that's about where it's going to get funneled into, and that'll be the one big thing. And we got a lot of good information today to consider. And the other thing is, as for me, the next 45 days is we kind of figure out what we do. Like, it seems like that's the last little hole, how we want to deal with that. And we might not keep everybody happy with whatever decision we come up with. But in my mind, I also gotta think we're doing it now, but every 2 years there may not be 5 sportsmen sitting up here. So there could this may need to be a neutral
Take
site.
that back out of town.
So there isn't the intimidation. There could be Donnie here, I'm gone, the next person that's sitting here may not be comfortable with Donnie having a gun on his hip. So that's why I think we're gonna think about in the next 45 days, what we kind of been pinpointing in, we're gonna have firearms in this room, in this chamber, in this meeting. And I think everything else we, hopefully, now that everybody's got the facts, run home, fire up your laptop, spread the word please, and don't beat up Candy and Doug and everybody else anymore. So.
Wait, I gotta put this on Facebook.
Yeah, go ahead. John, yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't know how to go about it, but would it be beneficial? I think it would, to have regular conversations with the general public of why having firearms and why having the general public carrying is safer for them, so that they don't feel intimidated, so that they have the right mindset when they're surrounded by fellow citizens that love them and carry. They're not afraid, but instead they're actually going. And they know that it's better for them. Is there a way to speak to people that way publicly? Can we let those who are intimidated know that they don't need to be? Is that something we can do? Because I think that instead of catering towards the people who are afraid, that don't know anything about firearms, have them talk to someone who does, who can make sure that they understand, and better yet, maybe get them to want to carry.
That's where under
I don't know how it's done, but I think just having those conversations publicly and officially would be very, very helpful.
in common sense.
That's a point well taken.
Right? I'm not going to your house.
Yes.
My name's Kurt Wagner. That also. I just kind of want to tie a few things in with what Jeremy was bringing too. I think, and I'm glad to make progress. But I think that if the council can put restrictions on making an ordinance to restrict something, we can also make things that are less restrictive and get closer to shall not be infringed. Because this, I mean, like Jeremy mentioned, they're trying to, been working in the legislature over several years now, trying to do I got probation, which got free zones. And, I mean, if we could do that in the town here, that shows Cheyenne that, hey, there's people that want us. Well, I understand.
Instead of copying other people's stuff, be a trendsetter, not a follower.
Right. Exactly. Thank you. So, that's my 2 cents.
Good point. I like that statement. Thank you for that.
Just one comment, we are Wheatland, not Casper. We are Wheatland, not Cheyenne.
No.
We're Wheatland, not Jackson Hole. We moved here because it's Wheatland. We live here because it's Wheatland. If we didn't like Wheatland, we ought to move to Casper or Cheyenne or someplace we like. Don't bring that mentality into our little town. Please.
Brent?
Yeah.
Jim Wilcox. What happens between now and November or December when it's
October. Next one will be October, then
Right,
November.
okay. So if November is the final, right?
Yep.
So where do the police go now for their ordinance to enforce? Is it that old ordinance?
It's the old ordinance, yes.
So that's, what everybody's gotta realize is that old ordinance is still intact.
And then in October, if we would just change our mind and vote this down on the second reading, we stay right where we are today.
So just kind of.
Good question.
Brandon?
Yes, Morgan?
My question is, was the town of Wheatland property struck out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. by
Like
all
the
means.
cemetery, the city
Yes.
park, stuff like that?
Yep.
We're okay to go on just like we have been?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
In November.
Is there any other public comment? I would like to thank you and commend you all for being here and extend that invitation for the October 11th meeting. You'll see a vastly different piece of paper in front of you as a result of that meeting, and then from there, if we need to workshop, we certainly will, going forward to the third and final reading in November. And bring that same passion and show up in numbers again. It's enjoyable to sit here and see the room full, because it's not an often occasion that we have that. So thank you for taking time tonight.
And I appreciate everything, being civil.
Yes, I also appreciate that. We should have.